So then talking about the competition, right? Like, what's what's the competition like? What would you say it's like? Would you say it's as fast as D1, D2, D3, NAIA, as fast as high school?
I'd say it's faster than D1, honestly. Probably pro, borderline pro. No, I'm kidding. No, um it's about like high school, honestly. About high school, about NAIA, and around like D3, I would say around that range. You've definitely got some people. There's people that have swam on the D1 team, and then they go to the club team. So they're swimming like crazy fast times, but for the most part, it's really not as competitive as D1 or D2, I would say.
Yeah.
Uh,
So why is that? Why is it not as fast as say D3 or and NAIA? Although I think we're probably about even with NAIA, maybe a little bit slower. But the reason is because you're in high school, those top athletes that like win state, they go and swim
right.
D1.
Yeah.
They're not swimming. They're not swimming college club
College club.
swimming,
Yeah.
and so yeah, we're not going to be faster than your high school state meet,
Right.
right?
Right.
But we are going to have way more depth than your high school state meet
Yeah.
because
Definitely.
now you're bringing, think of the B finals at your high school state meet. You have pretty much everybody's B finals from across the nation coming together at CCS, and that's how fast it is. So to give you an idea of how fast CCS is for the 50 free, the top time was a 20.6, 20.6, and basically top 10 was sub 21.
Right.
So the top 10 athletes were sub 21, and I'd say top 100 was probably even sub 22.5. And so it's not incredibly fast. However, it's probably as fast as high school
Yeah.
because of that, right?
Right.
Because of those state championships moving on to D1.
Right.
But the reason why it's also pretty fast is because, like you were saying, people who swam D1, say like at Florida or Indiana, sometimes they go on to get their masters and they
Right.
want to continue swimming afterwards, and so they swim in CCS. They swim
Mm-hmm.
in college club swimming because they aren't eligible to continue swimming in NCAA, so they swim CCS. It's a viable option for them to continue and compete. And so in the 100 free, Indiana had this guy named something Hansen. I forget. And he
Um,
swam, I believe, a 5600 breaststroke. And he swam D1 at IU. And so, we get fast competition because we have ex D1 swimmers who come down and swim at CCS.
right.
There was a girl, Ashley, and she was swimming the 500 free. I mean, she was smoking everybody in the field.
Yeah.
But that's because she swam D1. So we have fast competition. We have major depth. And for example, at nationals in Ohio, there were over 2,000 athletes there. 2,000 athletes that attended nationals, and then 120 plus programs from across the nation. And these are like big universities. You're
Right.
talking about
Right.
IU. You're talking about Florida, Georgia Tech, Duke has a team, Virginia, GCU, UCLA, USC,
Right.
Stanford has a program. Minnesota University has a program. You're talking about like big university names. Like these aren't just you know UNC Wilmington.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like not a lot of people have probably heard of UNC Wilmington, and so it's not like these smaller schools. It's these large D1 universities, but it's their club programs. And so like that's the great part too, is that a part of being a part of collegiate club swimming is that you can still attend a large D1 university, right?
Right.
You can still go to Minnesota, Indiana, Florida, Georgia Tech, Virginia. You can go to all these big name schools and still compete, right?
Right.
Too often, if you're not, say, the fastest swimmer, you're looking at D3 options and you're swimming for. I can't think of I can't think of a D3 school that nobody knows about because I don't know about
yeah. I
them,
don't. Yeah.
right? Like, oh, I just signed to blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
you're like, man, I didn't even know that was a university.
Right.
like
Right.
like no, you can go to these large universities, and that's a positive because when you go to these D3 schools, sometimes even D2 schools, they don't have a lot of programs, a lot of majors that you might
Right.
want to
Yeah.
pursue,
Yeah.
right? You're kind
Because
of
these are smaller schools,
yeah,
so
you're
they
kind
don't
of
have.
limited on the type of education you can
Yeah.
get. And so too often people are choosing sports over academics, right? I'm gonna swim for this D3 school, and then I'm gonna settle to get my a business degree,
Right.
right? But really, you want to pursue being a robotics engineer, right?
Right.
You can't get that at a D3 school, but you can get that at a D1 school, which has more programs for you
Definitely.
to study, but then you also get to compete as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
For
you don't
sure.
have to go to a small school, settle on your education, and then compete. You can go to a large university, get the education you want at the university you want to get it at, and then also swim for a very good league, a very good program as
Right.
well.
Right. I do want to add that also club CCS their nationals they have a 10 swimmer A final, 10 swimmer B final, and they also lowered their qualifying times so that more people can actually swim at nationals too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So-
I think the qualifying time for the 50 free, the men's 50 free is like a 23.6.
Right.
And then
right.
the women's 50 free is like a 27.8, 27.6 or something like that.
Right.
So it's very easy to qualify. You can if you're a decent swimmer, you can qualify for nationals and
Yeah.
get that experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, the top 20 athletes are fairly fast.
Right. Right.
But you can still swim in prelims heats, and it's an amazing atmosphere.
Yeah,
It's an
definitely.
atmosphere that you'll probably never get anywhere else. Like it's a very well ran meets. We have officials. There's always a really good group of fans and audiences that are watching, and being at these large universities, Ohio State University, that pool
Right.
was beautiful,
Right.
and then Georgia Tech's pool was amazing as well. That's where they had. I forget what year, but they had the Olympics
Yeah.
there in Georgia, and then being at UNC, they were gonna host it at the GAC, the Greensboro Aquatics Complex, and that's a pretty new facility. Like that facility's, I don't want to say brand new, but it's new.
Yeah.
And we were going to swim there for nationals. So we're not just swimming at small schools and blah blah blah. No, there are 2,000 athletes who attend nationals with 120 plus programs from across the nation. I mean, it's huge. It's a really big event. It's a really big meet. And like you said, yeah, the qualifying times are fairly easy to make, and so you can really get that experience there.
Right.
Yeah. And then so talking about sponsors, right? That's a big thing. Going to D1 schools, you get sponsored and you get all this gear and you get all this apparel, and it's amazing. Nike or Speedo or Tier, right? So our D1 team, the GCU D1 team, they're sponsored by Tier, and it's really cool seeing their bags and all the stuff they get. But we're actually finalizing a sponsorship with Arena.
Yes, sir.
So our club program is going to be sponsored by Arena. Shout out Arena, you guys are a real one. And so just like any D1 program, they get sponsorships. We also have sponsorships. Everything that we're getting this year, our bags, our suits, our any of our gear, our caps, it's going to be through Arena, and we get crazy nice discounts for their tech suits for those who qualify for nationals. Like it's really a cool experience. Like you almost get that college experience, that D1 experience swimming for CCS. Yeah. What else you got?
Yeah, I want to talk about the meets real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
So, like you said earlier, like this was in the east. It started in more east
On the East Coast, yeah.
on the East Coast, right? So, and then they brought it to the west a little bit more, but there's still a lot of schools that haven't started club programs, except for a lot in California, then us, and then Oregon, some in Utah. So we do 2 travel meets to California, and those meets are pretty crazy. Me being a swimmer, I've only ever swam in Arizona, and this club team just opened a new door for me, and just I got to experience swimming in another state, which was like awesome. I swam at UCLA, and like their pool is pretty crazy. And just like swimming in a new state, that's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah, our travel meets are, you talk to any of our athletes and they'll say the travel meets are the
Yeah,
highlights.
right,
because
right.
because we get there early, right? And we just go to the beach
Yep.
and we just hang out the day
Yeah.
before the meet. The meet's on Saturday, we'll get there Friday and we'll hang out at the beach. I mean, we've gone to Cheesecake Factory. We've gone to
Yeah.
Cheesecake Factory, we've gone to Old Spaghetti Factory. Excuse me, we've been to Olive Garden to carb up for the meet before, for the night before the meet, and it's so much fun just
Right.
getting there, sitting in that area, just being able to hang out with your athletes outside of the water, with your peers outside of the water. Like, that's a lot of fun. And I mean, we were at the beach for like 3 hours.
Yeah, solid time.
Yeah, for like 3 hours, and then we got food, and we hook you guys up in nice hotels, and then
Right.
yeah, the meets are so much fun. I mean, there's probably at the UCLA meets, there's probably around 200 athletes in total. Like I said, there's Stanford, Cal Berkeley just started a program, Cal Poly, and UC San Diego are pretty large programs as well. UCLA is a big program. USC, UC Irvine, UC Davis, University San Diego, and then yeah, sometimes we get some Utah schools out there. Sometimes we get some Oregon schools out there, or just Oregon out
Right,
there
right.
to compete, and it's a great time. I mean, it's fully ran by students, by student athletes who run their programs, right? UCLA, they're student led, so these students run their practices, run the meets, and they really host it. They host it to the best of their ability.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes there's some technical difficulties, but by no means are these guys pros at
Right.
running meets and
Right.
working the timing systems and the timing board and all that. So sometimes there's some technical difficulties, but it's just it's a really exciting meet to be a part of. Absolutely. And then we compete in state as well. We compete
Yeah.
against Arizona Christian University. NAU, Northern Arizona, is trying to start a club program, and they're doing really well. And that's another thing too, is that I want to talk about, is that if you are going to a university that doesn't have a club program, it is so easy to start one, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to, say, ASU, because we live in Arizona and I know ASU doesn't have a program. If you go to ASU and like you're a swimmer, but you went there because of engineering or their finance school or whatever, they got a really good
Yeah.
engineering and business program over there. But if you go there because of education, but then you also want to swim, start the club program.
Right.
Reach out to the club the club directors and administrators, and let them know you want to start a program, and they'll help you find recruits, get pool time, and figure all that stuff out. Being at GCU, we don't even have an aquatics facility. We don't have a pool, right? There are universities with like a whole aquatics complex,
Right, like state of the art.
yeah, state of the art, 50 long course meters, and they don't have a club program. We don't have an aquatics facility, but yet we were able to start a club program. We talked about it, or I talked about it in my introduction. Like, we swam in a pool. It's called the Grove Pool, and it's literally like, it's a block. It's a square. It's 25 yards, and there's 2 lanes. It's 5 feet for one lane, 4 feet for another lane, and then it slowly goes up to 3 feet, 2 feet. And there's no lane lines. There's one lane line, and like that's it. So when you swim there, it's like the water hits the walls and then bounces back, and it just becomes this giant wave pool. And it especially if you're swimming fly, it's really hard. We don't even have flags at that pool.
No
We don't
flags,
we
no
don't have
blocks.
blocks. The first 3 years of our program, 3.5 years really, the first 3.5 years of our program, we did not have blocks at any of the pools we trained at.
Right.
The first time that we did any starts was at a swim meet.
Right,
We
yeah,
would literally
yeah.
do like a mini dive practice
Right.
at our swim meets because we didn't have blocks. And so if you're going to a large university like ASU, who has an aquatics complex, who has 3 different pools actually,
Yeah.
it's so easy to start a club program there and then have practices, because you have everything. You have backstroke flags, you have blocks, you have lane lines, you have an actual pool with an overflow gutter system where you can train in. Even the pool that they built for us on campus, it doesn't even have an overflow gutter system.
Right.
So the water
right.
still hits the walls and then comes back in. I mean, we're grateful
Yeah,
for
very grateful for that, though.
having a facility on campus that we can practice at, because we used to drive about 15 minutes off campus to train at a YMCA,
Right.
who had backstroke flags, still didn't have any blocks, and the pool was like 4 feet deep.
Yeah, it was not deep at all.
Yeah, and so the pool we have now is, it's about 6.5 feet deep all the way across. We actually have the D1 team's blocks,
Right, yeah.
because they used to have it at the Goodyear YMCA, but they moved to Brophy, and Brophy won't allow them to have their blocks there because it doesn't match their color scheme. And so we actually took the D1 team's blocks, and so we have those blocks at our pool. We have backstroke flags, so really only for about half a year now. This last semester,
Yeah, because it was still building
Yeah.
the first semester.
yeah, the 2020 spring semester was our first year being able to like do dive practices and have backstroke flags and have a pool deep enough where we can do underwaters and,
Yeah.
and all sorts of other things.
Yeah.
Granted, it's 5 lanes and it's not the most ideal facility, but for what we've been able to do with the facilities we've had, with how many recruits we've had, I mean, I think we're doing really well.
Right.
That doesn't
And-
mean don't come to our program. don't reach out. We still have state of the art stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing. GCU is amazing. But yeah, we don't have an aquatics
Right.
facility.
But we took advantage of the blocks last
Oh, yeah.
semester. We
Oh,
we
yeah.
used them every practice.
Mhm.
There was no way we weren't gonna use them.
Yeah, definitely.
And we even had like dive practices, like
Mhm.
if people wanted to just come and get extra dive practice.
Mhm.
So we took advantage of that for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, if you're going to university and they don't have a club program, just start one.
Right.
Like reach out to other students on campus and be like, hey, if you're a swimmer, if you're not a swimmer but you want to try it, like, hey, join this club program. Start small. Start with a small fee and just get your very basic stuff. Get a team suit and some team caps. You can charge $100 and get a solid suit. A men's suit's probably, especially a brief, is like $30. A woman's suit maybe around 50, 60, but caps are like $2.
Right. Caps are
yeah.
inexpensive.
So start with an easy fee, and get the basics. Get a suit. Get some caps. And then there are so many meets on the website. If you just search College Club Swimming on the website, they have a schedule of meets that you have to get what's called cleared, or forget what the word is, but you have to get it approved, by sanctioned. You have to get it sanctioned by CCS, and so there's a whole calendar on there where you can look at meets around your area. And traveling's really easy too. We go to California and we take vans out there, but most of the time people drive themselves.
Yeah.
Most of the time,
Yeah.
people just carpool and drive over there. Sometimes they get there early. Sometimes they stay longer, right? Because we leave right after the meet on Saturday. But some people stay Saturday in California and stay at the beach. We've talked about, going to Disneyland, going to Knott's Berry, and like hanging out more. If you have family out in California, feel free to stay with your family. Feel free to see your family. We have probably around 20 athletes who are from California.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them stay with their athletes. A lot of them, like Brooks' parents, they're from Colorado. They flew out to California for that
watch
meet.
that meet,
Yeah,
yeah.
and Brooks stayed with them. So you don't have to stay at the hotels with us. You don't have to travel with us. If you want to and you don't have a car to drive yourself, then you can take our vans and we provide that. But for the most part, like, travel meets are fun because
They are.
there aren't a lot of like rules and regulations and like red tape to go through. Like,
Yeah.
if you're on the D1 team, it's like you travel there and you get to your hotel and you change to go to practice. Like, you're not there to hang out and go to the beach and sightsee. Like, you're there to train. You're there to compete, and then that's the number one priority. As soon as you're done, you're out, right? But and you have to travel with the team,
Right.
because they have so many regulations on that. But with us, it's like hey, if you want to stay, like feel free to. You're a college student. Go do
Right.
whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about the home meet
Mm-hmm.
that we had this last year. Um, like honestly, this is our first home meet because this is our new pool,
Mm-hmm.
and like we had 5 lanes, no warm up pool, no cool down pool. Granted, I mean it was just our team.
Mm-hmm.
We invited what, 2 other teams, right?
Yeah, so we invited NAU and Southern Utah University,
Yeah.
both brand new programs. So they're still trying to, get a hold of everything, get a hold of their athletes, and make it a little bit better for them. So if you're going to NAU, if you're going to Northern Arizona, there is a club program there, and then if you're going to Southern Utah University, there's a club program there as well. Let me know if you're going, and if you're interested, and I can get you the contacts of the people in charge of those programs.
Right. But yeah, I thought like that was just pretty crazy. We can just host our own meet and just like that actually like those times actually count for nationals too.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just swimming in our own pool, just having a meet by ourselves, which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
And like everybody was there, everybody was having a good time as well too.
Yeah. So a lot of programs actually do this in CCS is they'll just host a week before the deadline for nationals. They'll just host a time trial
Trial.
meet or a last chance qualifier, and they'll just do an intra squad meet, and they'll just swim their athletes and get a time just so they can qualify.
Right.
You don't really have that option for
No.
D1. Like you go
Yeah.
to your invites and you go to your meets, you don't qualify.
Yeah, and you only have what, like 2 invites a year for D1,
Yeah,
right?
you have your the middle of the year invite, and then you
And
have
then the end.
conferences, and then
Right.
the rest are pretty much dual meets or double dual meets. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, we kind of have that opportunity to just kind of, hey, we didn't get people qualified. Let's just host our own meet, get a
Right.
timing system, and swim it as many times as you want
Right,
until you
yeah.
qualify.
Yeah,
Like,
we had some swimmers that did the same race 4 times
Until they
just to
qualified,
qualify.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have that luxury to be able to do that. Again, we don't have our own facility. Our pool is of regulation size, which is 75 feet, and so that's 25 yards. And we just rented a timing system from David Tate. Shout out David Tate if you're listening or watching this. We appreciate you and what you did for a program. We're actually going to rent his timing system again in November for another meet. But yeah,